here with Peter Goral, the writer, the creator, co-creator of the Phantom Starkiller. How you doing, Peter?
Good. Co-writer, creator of.
All right.
Had that back.
So, got that backwards. Yeah, you got a lot going on. You've got comic books. You've got action figures.
Yep.
Is that it? Is that the only two that you got going on right now?
Yeah, well, comic books, action figures, and then we're working on a children's book as well that's in the same universe, Starkiller stuff.
Nice. All right, so let's go to Phantom Starkiller. Let's kick it off with that. What was the inspiration behind making Phantom Starkiller?
Okay, so back in the character started years ago, back in 2012, so almost 10 years ago. I've been designing and making toys for the last 15 years, and in 2012, 2013, I was asked to do 2012. I was asked to do a 2013 exclusive for San Diego Comic-Con. So I was asked like in the fall of 2012 to start getting ready for the next summer. And I figured I would, I was making at the time a lot of like pop culture reference and parody figures, and I figured that with an opportunity so big that I should do something like I should go big or go home and create like an original character, like something that, I felt would resonate with people. And what I did was I took kind of George Lucas's recipe, but instead of being I wasn't inspired by Kurosawa films and spaghetti westerns and Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers. I was inspired by the stuff from the 80s, being born in the 80s. So, Star Wars was big inspiration for me. He-Man, Masters of the Universe, Thundercats, the Black Cauldron, certain things like that, heavy metal. So I took those and threw them into like a blender and made this amalgamation of a new character that I felt, looked like it was of the time, like to be like something that came out in the 80s, but was all, like inspired by the things that, were happening at the time. Like if some, like weird toy company, which I guess I am like a homespun kind of toy company, just like what would they make if they were putting out stuff at that time. And that's what Phantom Starkiller essentially was just something that would be this character that was like an original character that was, inspired by all the things that had come before. And so I've been making toys and other merchandise all this whole time, up until I got asked to do the comic by my partner and the illustrator of the comic, Joseph Schmalke, who was putting out some of his books through Scout Comics, and they had given him the opportunity to do a horror imprint called Black Caravan. And me and him have been working together for the past 2 or 3 years prior to him getting that opportunity, with him doing packaging, art, and different artwork for me to promote my action figures and toys. And when he got that opportunity, he's just asked, like, he's like, I've read the back of the packaging that you have for Starkiller and Knuckle Duster, and I see that you have this like universe that ties them all together. Like, is there any interest there for you to tell this story or tell the deeper story or dive deep into this and explain it? He's like, I'm happy to work with it on you and partner up with you and do all this. And, Joe has always been a pleasure to work with. So when that opportunity presented itself, I was more than happy to, collaborate and work with him. And that's kind of how we've moved, this whole time. It's like, I'll write out like all this crazy story elements and stuff and moments and things that I want to happen, and then he helps me kind of like organize it into a comic friendly format, because I've never written a comic before or laid anything out for comic books, so that was kind of something that was new. But so I like I said, I wrote down just as much like long form paragraphs, it was just tons of information, and then me and Joe would work together and kind of bounce it back and forth, narrowing it down and kind of, like I said, shaping it and molding it into a comic friendly format. And then he would go off and draw the pages. I would give him all the reference. Like, he'd say, well, what's this guy that you came up with? Who's this guy? What's he look like? And I would, send him reference for his everything. I'd send him references for every single thing, down to poses that people are in. And And then he would draw the pages and send them to me, and I'd approve them or say, hey, this guy, we got to change this guy. He doesn't look like that, or change this. This isn't like how I envisioned it when I was writing it. And Joe's really awesome to work with like that. And me and him have just, it's a great collaboration. And I couldn't have asked for a better partner on this project, And so we did Starkiller, and that was we started that in I think early 2020 maybe, and it came out last fall, and it did very well,
Extremely well.
And so for me, it's always like I've been about the toys and promoting and making toys. So now we've started another toy company with Scout also as well, called Tracker Collectibles, and we're going to be putting out some figures and collectibles through that are Phantom Starkiller and Draco Knuckle Duster based. We're going to be putting some out this year. This is the first, one of the first ones. It's like a Ninja Turtle inspired
Nice.
sculpture. It's done by the guy who sculpted Shredder and Bebop and Rocksteady. The same guy who worked for Playmates back in the day sculpted this for me. And that's already in manufacture right now. There's going to be more figures coming through Super 7, through their reaction line.
Show you one of those?
Yeah, so there's more of those coming out this summer. And just the toys has always been a big thing for me. The story and getting into the storytelling aspect of it is new, and I'm very excited to keep doing it. We just wrapped up Draco Knuckle Duster, which is the follow-up and kind of sequel to Phantom Starkiller. It picks up right where Phantom Starkiller ended. So like on that last page when he's radioing in to his master, like this comic picks up like on the other end of that that other end of that transmission, and how it plays forward is going to be, kind of like how Draco Knuckle Duster will be introduced, and will tell some of his backstory, and then keep going with the story of Phantom Starkiller and a cell and how it all ties in together. And so we'd already been planning that at back then, that we knew that this is how we were going to approach this, through doing 4 individual one-shots based on these 4 main like bad guy characters that I created over the the last 10 years, and introducing them into the comic format.
So after, I'm going to show them to...
Yep. There's Starkiller, Knuckle Duster, and Vice Admiral Acre is on the right. And that'll be the next book after Knuckle Duster.
So Knuckle Duster's coming out later this year.
In summer, actually. It comes out in July.
Oh, nice. That's just right around the corner.
Yep.
So when is the third one slated for this year also?
I think early next year, I think, is what we're shooting for. Because like I said, I have that children's book that we're also doing, which is like Little Starkiller, and that's
nice.
I'm working with Charles or CP Wilson on that, who's a good friend, and he, for an art show I did, with COVID, all these dates get messed up in my head. It seems like we've had 2 years off, but I think it was 2018 or 2019. I had a art show called Skeleton Faces and Laser Swords that was all artwork inspired by Phantom Starkiller, and I curated it and had artist friends from all over the world do things, and CP did these really wonderful, like Winnie the Pooh-esque kind of children's drawings of Phantom Starkiller, doing all these like cute things, and he just did so many of them that it was like, we have to do something with this. Like, there's just no way that they're just too cool just to be like one and done type things, So we've been writing a story that goes along with those, and that's what we're going to be working on, like in the later half of the year, book wise, after Knuckle Duster comes out, is doing like a hardbound board book style children's book.
Is the children's book Little Starkiller going to be released through Scout also?
Yep. Scoot, probably Scout's children's imprint called Scoot, like a collaboration that's Scoot and Black Caravan and Scout,
Yeah.
through it'll be under the Scout banner, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's just like to kind of like, I mean, like I said, like I made this character with the intention of it appealing to guys that are like, 25 to 45. Most of us, myself included, have children now. And to be able to share something like with your kids that you're passionate about, and as I like have made all these toys and everything, even the comic book, like we did it as like a PG-13 type of thing. Like there might be some like violence in it, but there's not like any like nudity or like overly sexualized anything. And it was just the idea to share this with like my kids and to share it with other fans who have kids, to share this with their kids. And Little Starkiller is kind of just to like go full force into that and be like, this is for you to share with your kids, and just to kind of bridge that generational gap, because I think some things like like nowadays, like there's not too much media out there that's like able to be shared with, that's generational, you know what I mean, like where you like it and then your kid can be like, oh, this is cool too, and I think that this could fit in that. So that's like the idea.
All right. And I know that you're a toy maker. When you sent how did you do it through Super 7? Did you send Super 7 your prototypes, or did they send you their prototype?
So with that, I had already been making toys, like I said, for a long, long time prior to working with them. And so when I released Starkiller at 2013 at San Diego Comic Con, 2 booths away, Super 7 was debuting their Aliens figure. I have one actually sitting right here. And they were debuting this figure, like their Aliens, like the movie figures. And it was like 2 booths away. And I had Phantom Starkiller sitting on the table, and I happened to fly out there to San Diego for the show, and they sold out the first night. My figures did, and it had like this, there was one on display on the table, and it had like this like big sticker on it that said like sold out or something. And the CEO and the like creator or owner of Super 7, Brian Flynn, he walked over. Just it's like on Sunday, everything's kind of chill, like the show's kind of died down. He's just walking around, and he happened to walk by the booth, and he was like, just stopped dead in his tracks and was like, whoa, like what the hell is this? And the guy who was running the booth was like, well, that's Phantom Starkiller, it sold out on preview night, but the guy who made it is standing right here. And I was just standing there like looking at my phone, like not paying attention or anything. And he's like, but the guy who made it's right here. Maybe if you talk to him, commission one from him, he'll make it for you. Or and I was like, oh hey, and introduced myself, and we became friends. And I kept making Phantom Starkiller stuff every I mean, it wasn't like the main staple of Killerbootlegs up until maybe like 2018, when I was like, okay, I'm gonna devote everything that I'm doing to my own creations. For a long time I was making pop culture figures. I'd make Hunter S. Thompson, Larry David. I'd make a spray can R2D2. I'd make Ewok that's a zombie, call it the Ewoking Dead. Like I did stuff like that for a very long time. And Phantom Starkiller was just like my original character that I would release every so often, within this plethora of other Star Wars pop culture parody shit I would make. But the idea kind of, was like that I got this audience with some of this more pop culture stuff, but then I would like sprinkle in my own stuff that like, was like my own creations that they'd be like, well, that's cool. And then eventually like the fans kept like wanting my stuff more and being like, yeah, like you don't have to do that anymore. Like, where's the Starkiller stuff? And so that's when I finally got to that point that I was like, okay, I don't necessarily need to make this Star Wars stuff anymore, even though it's still fun to make. Like if I got like a good idea to make like the Ewoking Dead or Buddha Fett, like those are things that I made. Like you've probably seen like little Buddhas that have like a Star Wars head on it. Like I made that like 15 years ago before anybody had ever made anything like that. Like I'm like the guy who made that. Or like I said, like the Ewok with the zombie, like that's something I made like years and years and years ago. And then, people just made their own little versions of it and shit. But I did stuff like that. And if I, came up with some really good idea, maybe I would do something, or if I got asked to do another art show or something. But I prefer to work on my own stuff now, and that if, when I leave this world, like if I, that I'm remembered for Phantom Starkiller and something that I created, as opposed to something that, somebody else created, It was like the whole idea eventually that I would be able to, I luckily got to that point that I'm able to focus on my own creations, and I don't have to, tie Star Wars or other things into it. Like I have my own, like, kind of loosely based Star Wars that I'm working on, like what it is, my universe.
So as a toy guy, should toys be in the package or should they be taken out?
I always buy two. Like I like them out. Like I buy everything and take them out. I love to play with stuff and take it out and see the craftsmanship of it and how it works, and the engineering of it. Like, do his legs move, or does everything move and work the way it should? I like that. I like the packaging as well. A lot of the stuff I make, the art is kind of on full display. It's like that. I'll work with people that I friends of mine and guys that I'm friends with, and be like, what's your take on this, and have them go all out, so that I like that it's in package too. I don't know. I like I said, buy two and rip one open.
Right. Don't you have a cover similar to this?
No, not that one.
Like the card?
Nope. I mean, there might be one that looks similar to it, but the guy who did it, he's a friend of mine who lives in Venezuela, named Jose. He's Pez Banana on Instagram. He has not done a cover for us yet, even though I'd like him to. But he just did the packaging for that figure. There probably is one that's similar to it though, but not by that specific artist.
All right. And you said that you was working on the fourth printing of the book.
Starkiller, yeah. So we did for that one. I don't know if I can say what it is yet. It's based on an action figure. I know that. It's like another action figure cover that we did. I know we did like the one that was released through Toss Comics that was based on the 2013 Phantom Starkiller. Scott McFarland did that cover with the original artist Luke Yates. That was one of the variants that came out last year. But we did like another action figure cover. So like it's a action figure cover, that
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's one of the ones that me and Joe Schmelke worked on. So it's got kind of, it ties to both of us. That it's like a figure that I made and that Joe did the artwork on in 2018 before we were even, the comic was even a thought, so it's kind of cool to bring it's like everything's kind of coming full circle, and that should be coming out, I would assume, like around the same time as Knuckle Duster. It's kind of like a refresher for anybody who did not get Phantom Starkiller or that's actively collecting all the covers. There's another one coming, boys. There's actually a couple. There's actually a couple coming, Starkillers, because we got another shop wanted to do like a connecting cover. Like they wanted a Knuckle Duster exclusive, and then they wanted, since we were doing a fourth printing, it was like, all right, like we'll run more of the books and then just change the cover out. So one shop, I don't know which one, but it's like a huge cover. I wish I could say the artist name, because I mean everybody would just die. It's like that big, the name of the artist doing it, and he's doing like a connecting cover that's Starkiller, Knuckle Duster. You put them together and it's one image. It's gonna be pretty sick, dude. It's gonna be sick, really sick. Right. And when people find out who's doing it, they're gonna die. I mean, I wish I could say who it was, but I think I'd get in trouble if I did. By the shop, by Joe, or by somebody else at Scout. Like, dude, no, don't say it. I know we've got some really heavy hitters coming. A lot of the guys are coming back that did covers from Starkiller, or doing covers for Knuckle Duster. I know we got Ben Bishop's coming back, Ryan G. Brown, is coming back. Joe Schmelke's doing several. Rich Woodall's doing one. Jason Lynch is doing one. Who else that I can say? I mean, there's just a bunch. Aaron Bartling's doing one. There's a whole bunch of guys that I can't think of offhand, but there's a lot of covers, and they're all really, really, really cool. Lou Pimentel's doing one. Yeah, you guys will just have to wait and see, but they're all really, really cool. Each one's cooler than the next, I promise.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you, Peter, for coming to talk with us. Where can people find you at?
You can find me at Killerbootlegs on Instagram or Phantom Starkiller. I run both of those accounts. Peter Wheatstraw Goral on Instagram or on Facebook, or if you just type Peter Goral, that's me. Twitter, Killerbootlegs, Phantom Starkiller, or killerbootlegs.com, phantomstarkiller.com. If you just Google Phantom Starkiller, you're gonna find me. You know.
Okay. All right, Peter. Thank you for coming to take the time to talk with us.
Yeah, thanks, man, for having me.